says recording pending.
Yep, looks like you're good.
All right, perfect. So because it is Monday at 5 p.m., we will not keep you any longer past 6 p.m. So thank you again for everybody who's joined our session today. So hopefully we won't keep you too long, but the goal of today's session is to provide you some more information on National Grid's next steps in our recruiting process. So without further ado, we will go ahead and jump into some quick introductions. So Rachel and I are kind of go back and forth. So as mentioned, my name is Allie Nadeau. I'm a specialist here at National Grid, coordinating the intern program. I have been at National Grid a little over 2 years now, and my partner in crime on the line is Rachel Blankenship, who is a senior specialist here at National Grid, who has been here a little over 6 years now. I did give ourselves the title as the dynamic duo because together we do coordinate the intern program and really want to provide a great candidate experience to you, as well as continuing to develop our GridTurn program here at National Grid. So before we jump into the content of today's session, we will be utilizing a platform called Menti for our Q&A session at the end, but we want to give you the opportunity to kind of get familiar with the platform. So we will kind of start with an opening question. So if you go to www.menti.com and use the code 3970388, you can answer the question, have you confirmed your interest in our specific roles yet? And if you haven't yet, hopefully you'll learn a little bit more about our process on this call and why it's important to confirm interest in our specific roles. But you should have received an email from either Rachel or myself this past Thursday. See some really good numbers here. A lot of people have reconfirmed their interest. Some people said no, so hopefully they're going to do so after this call. We will prepare you. Some people asking, what does that mean? Hopefully we'll provide some clarification for you and that you will be kind of an all-star ready to go after today's session. So we do have a lot of people logged into Menti, which is great. So you're now kind of on the platform. So I will switch to the next slide, and it's going to be a question slide for you to ask any questions that you might have throughout today's presentation. So feel free to either submit your question now or throughout the presentation or at the end when we do get to the Q&A session. So we do start at National Grid every meeting with a safety message. So today I'm here to talk about seasonal affective disorder. So it is getting to that time of the year where the sun does go down at 4 p.m. I don't know if you can see behind me. It is actually pretty dark out right now, and it's 5 p.m. So I wanted to look into seasonal affective disorder I believe it does affect me in my home as well. So if it affects you, or if you start to notice that the seasons are affecting you in a negative way, I do have some tips to kind of pass along. If you do not know what seasonal affective disorder is, it is a type of depression that is related to the change in seasons. So it's not only fall to winter, it can be spring to summer, summer to fall. So it really can be any change in the seasons. I know for me, especially it's fall to winter because again, I hate that right now it's really dark outside and I can't go outside after the call. It is something to take pretty seriously, so don't brush it off just as nothing. It's something to be aware of because the sooner you are aware of how the seasons changing affect you, the earlier you can grasp it and tackle it. So definitely take some active steps to keep your mood and motivation steady throughout the year. I know something for me that gets me through winter is that I get really hyper excited for the holidays, something I try to really emphasize that I love the holidays, as I know that really gets me inspired, gets me to enjoy winter a little bit and more. Really after the holidays, then it's the new year, so then I really just try to focus on my New Year's resolutions. So some tips, if you're kind of like me, for the fall to winter, try some light therapy, sit by a window, or I know this sounds weird, but if you actually sit in front of a light, it is supposedly mimics the sunlight that you need. Definitely start trying to eat well, taking care of yourself, eating a balanced diet. I know I was actually vegan for a couple months myself, but I realized that cooking makes me extremely happy during these months. And really, with the restriction of a vegan diet, I couldn't enjoy the cooking that I like to do. So I am eating meat again and really starting to cook again. try to stay active in any way you like. You can take walks, runs, biking, strength training, really anything that you like. I know Rachel likes to take her dog Ripley for a walk. I know she did that during lunch. So trying to find ways to stay active. Try picking up a new hobby. I know I'm still trying to pick up knitting. I feel like I've been saying that for maybe like my whole life. I really want to learn how to knit. So if you have any tips on knitting, feel free to leave them. Let me know. Definitely spend time with family and friends. I know right now I only live with my fiance, so it's just me and one other person. So it can get crazy sometimes because you're the only other person that person has to talk to. But really, I try to take a step back and reflect about how lucky I am that we do get this chance to really spend all this time together. Hopefully, everyone stays safe this winter and do not let the seasonal affective disorder kind of take the best of you. So thank you, and that's my safety message for today. And then kind of going into today's agenda. So we will give a quick overview of who National Grid is at a snapshot, provide you a program update for COVID-19, provide you an overview of our summer intern program, and then I'm going to pass it along to Rachel at that time to go over our recruiting timelines and interview process, as well as wrapping up the session with our offer process, and then going into our Q&A session. So who is National Grid? We are a regulated gas and electric company providing the essential services to New York, Massachusetts, and Rhode Island. We do have about 7 million customers here in the Northeast, generating about $12 billion in revenue each year. We are a growing industry, as we have been a part of our organization called National Grid Ventures, which is actually an unregulated part of our business that is specifically looking into the renewable energy space and how we can be a part of that change. We do have about 22,000 employees in total from the US and the UK. So we are actually a UK-based company, which is pretty cool. The average age of our employees here at National Grid is 44, with a combined total of 295,000 years of experience here at National Grid, which is kind of crazy to think about. Here we do represent 59 nationalities, and we continue to strive and create a better working safe space for our employees, where everyone feels safe and secure and can bring their whole selves to work. In 2020, we won the Best Employers for Diversity. We are a top diversity organization by Diversity Inc., and we are a best-in-class employer for the LGBTQ community. So kind of going into our COVID-19 update, and we do like to be fully transparent with you as an organization as a whole. So as you can see, both Rachel and I have been working from our homes since March. I'm really starting to forget what my desk even looks like. I'm downtown Brooklyn office, and I'm really missing the Brooklyn Bridge walks. So hopefully we will get back to it soon. In regards to the program, we are cautiously optimistic and planning for an in-person experience. So you will be expected to report to the work location. However, we are ready to switch to a virtual format if necessary. This past summer, we did make the call to go virtual in about mid-April and held a virtual intern program with much success, and really are ready to do it again at any second. We are looking to make the call a little bit sooner for 2021, so hopefully by early 2021, we will have a better idea of what the summer will look like. But as the situation changes literally at any second these days, definitely we will keep you informed along the way. However, kind of a National Grid as a whole, we have definitely not slowed down as we are trying new and creative ways to get involved with the communities that we serve. So some ways that we've been doing that is we directed $500,000 to help support customers who were directly affected by COVID-19 and were experiencing financial hardships. We've donated PPE, such as face masks and safety goggles, to Tufts Medical Center to aid in helping COVID patients. We have donated $100,000 to Feeding America, which is an organization that is committed to ending hunger through through a network of food banks and much more. So our employees continue to work from home for the time being and will continue to do so until further notice. So this is going to be my background for quite a while. We do get weekly updates from our Plan Forward team that is keeping the employees notified on what the next steps are to providing a safe and healthy work environment for employees. So that is a COVID-19 update and kind of what we've been up to since the pandemic has started. And then kind of going into the program itself. So hopefully, you've seen the application by now, you've explored our careers website, you really have gotten a glimpse into what National Grid is really all about. And then we can kind of go into the program components here. So the program components does start with a day one orientation where you will learn more about National Grid, network with your other interns, and learn really what your summer is going to look like. This past summer, since we were virtual, we did break it up into a week. So probably 1 to 2 hours every day, the interns spent time with us because we really didn't want to make them sit in front of their computer for 8 hours on day one, but typically it would be a day one full day with a member of the Campus to Careers team. After orientation, your summer is really filled with all different types of opportunities, and really wanted to take a second to talk about them. So first is what we call our speaker series, where you will hear from different departments within National Grid. This past summer, we've done inclusion and diversity, resume workshops, public speaking, all different types of things from the departments at National Grid, because we really want not only National Grid specific things that you'll get out of the internship, but professional development as well. Next, we do offer site visits throughout the summer. We do think it's important that you kind of get a glimpse into offices you may be working in one day. So we did get the chance to do this virtually, and I was actually really impressed with the technology that we had to coordinate a virtual tour. So definitely wanted to emphasize the site visits, that you'll get out there and really see the different offices that National Grid has to offer. Next, we do host volunteer opportunities throughout the summer. So National Grid's really big on giving back to the communities that we serve, and we want to implement that into our Grid Turn program as well. So this year, because we were unable to gather in person, we created what we named the Grid Turns Give Back. So because the COVID-19 pandemic doesn't really allow people to kind of get into groups, we let our Grid Turns volunteer in their local communities up to 30 hours, and they actually received a stipend for their work. Really, the volunteer opportunities are probably my favorite because I think a lot of people get a lot out of them, whether it's being in person and going out there and directly seeing the effect that your volunteer work has, or it's letting the interns kind of explore on their own what they're passionate about and really giving them the leeway to pick their volunteer organization. So that was definitely something new and exciting this past year. So lastly, we do host some sort of end of summer event. And what the end of the summer event is really made to do is really showcase the public speaking skills that you've gained along the way and showcase what you've learned all summer long. So this past year, we did actually group case studies. So the interns got to work with other interns they normally wouldn't have and presented to senior executives, employees of National Grid. And the case studies were actually directly really impacted by National Grid. So that was great. The previous years, we've done kind of a career showcase where you would get a spot at a table and really talk to and network with other employees and executives again at National Grid to kind of showcase what you've learned all summer and what you were up to. However, again, because we were virtual this year, it was a little bit different in terms of the networking. So hopefully that gives you a glimpse into who National Grid is, what we've been up to since the pandemic, what the Grid Turn program really contains. And now I will pass it off to Rachel, who's going to talk about our recruiting process.
Thanks, Allie, and hi, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us today. We wanted to start off with providing you an update on where we are in the process. So I am happy to share that you not only met the requirements of the program, but that we found a position that we think would be a good fit for you. You did receive an email from our HR system either on November 5th or in the days following. Some of you might have received a couple actually earlier today. And that email is asking you to confirm interest in a department, and that's specifically in a department-specific role. So the role was determined for you based on a couple different factors, one being your past experiences, your education. Some of you have provided a cover letter, so the interest maybe that you stated on your cover letter. So we took that into account while finding a specific role for you. So utilizing the link that you received once again in the email, we are asking that you make sure that you confirm your interest in any role that you would like to be considered further for. So this is absolutely key. Cannot stress it enough that you can actually not be considered further unless you complete this action step. If you receive multiple emails, feel free to confirm interest in any of the roles that you forward for. There's definitely no limit. So if you'd like to express interest in all, feel free to do so. Once you've completed this step, what's going to happen is your information is actually going to be sent over to the respective hiring manager. We've actually sent out all emails. So once again, so if you choose not to confirm any interest, we can't actually consider you for summer of 2021 internship opportunities with us. So really can't stress it enough how important it is to go in, find that email, and confirm interest in any role that you think you might be a good fit for. So Allie, next slide, please. So once you confirm interest in a role, once again, managers are going to be receiving your information. At that time, they're going to determine if your credentials would be a good fit for their department. So you pass the screening process with a member of talent acquisition, but now we're sending you over to the department managers for further review. Should you be a good fit, what's going to happen is the manager's actually going to be reaching out to you directly to set up any interview. When it comes to setting up interviews, I can share that our managers not only have varying schedules, but obviously with the holidays coming up, there might be some vacation time planned. So I wanted to highlight that because I don't want you to be concerned if you actually don't hear from them right away. We wanted to share this information, make sure that we're setting up expectations for you. Might be reaching out right away, while others might be a little bit of a delay. Once again, don't worry about it. It really just kind of comes down to scheduling and understanding that our managers have different schedules with everything going on right now. I can share that all managers have the month of not only November, but also the beginning of December to schedule and conduct any interviews. With that being said, offers are going to actually start going out as early November. So once again, just to kind of give you an idea and a timeline so that you can kind of what to expect from us. So Allie, if you could go to the next slide for me, please. So when it comes to interviews, when it comes to the interview process, they can consist of a couple different ways. So it can be virtually through what's called Microsoft Teams, so obviously the platform that you're using right now, or they can actually be held over the phone as well. All interviews, they may involve different members of a department, so such as maybe individuals that you're going to be working on a daily basis, maybe the manager, maybe their director. So it's just helpful to keep that in mind of understanding that your audience might change, and that's obviously depending as well on each interview and each department that you work with. So once again, if you're considered for multiple roles, you can participate in multiple interviews. Our managers still have the same deadline now. So once again, you can participate in multiple interviews, but might have different deadlines. I wanted to also take the time just to provide you with a few tips that will help you better prepare for the interview process. Each manager is going to have a mixture of technical questions. So that's anything related to the work of their department. There's going to also be more generalized questions as well. And those questions are really going to relate to National Grid's vision, purpose, and values. Make sure that you review more about the company prior to your interview. So that way you have a better idea of who we are as a company. Utilize the job description. The last thing a hiring manager wants to hear is what role am I being considered for? And I know it can get confusing, right, with a couple different options, but make sure you utilize the job description. You have all the important information right there in front of you, and it's easily accessible. It's actually, you go through our careers website as well. So you have it there. If you don't remember it, even as of right now, feel free to go into our careers website, and that way you can make sure that you're reviewing it. If you have a virtual internship session, make sure that you dress to impress. Remember, this is your time to really sell our hiring managers on why you're the best fit for the role. And it really starts with looking professional. So just make sure that you're, wearing business casual at least when you kind of have those interviews being conducted. If you are participating in whether that be a phone or a virtual interview session, make sure that you find a quiet location. The last thing that you probably would want is really unwanted distractions. I know that usually it's hard to come back. So make sure that you're taking the time to find a quiet location so that way you're really paying attention to the manager and answering any questions that they have. And really make sure to ask questions at the end of the interview. This shows that you've been engaged during the whole session. It doesn't even have to be department specific. You could ask them a little bit about their day-to-day. Any question kind of really sparks that conversation, and that's how our managers can learn a little bit more about you outside of the formal interviews that they're asking. So we definitely encourage you to ask those questions. And lastly, don't stress. We've all been in the job interview stage. It seems overwhelming. Public speaking is overwhelming, but as long as you're prepared and you're going into the session, you'll do a great job. Obviously, your skill sets have gotten you this far. So really, we don't want you to stress. We want you to be comfortable. Easier said than done, completely understand. But that way, you should go in and it should be a much better session for you. So Allie, if you could go to the next one for me, please. So now that the interview process is over, you killed it. Your hiring managers are going to discuss the results with both Allie and myself to determine how they want to move forward with making an offer. So should your hiring manager be interested in extending an offer, either myself or Allie, either one of us will be reaching out to further discuss specifics and formally extend that offer to you. This process is going to take place anywhere from, once again, November 2020 is the earliest, all the way through January of 2021. We're still going to possibly be making offers at that time. Once again, just want to provide you with a timeline so that you can better anticipate. Once we do reach out with that formal offer, you are going to have a maximum time frame of 2 weeks to provide a decision. So we do understand that most candidates do come to a decision prior to this time frame, and we're definitely happy to take your response prior to your deadline. Feel free to reach out to us before then. Should you request additional time, occasionally we do have people that request additional time. Please note that it's going to be reviewed on a case-by-case basis. It's going to be reviewed with your manager, and there's no guarantee that it will be approved. So we're really trying to stick firm to that 2-week time frame. And then when the offer is made, we're going to be sending out an official offer letter to you. That information is going to be really important. It's going to reflect such things as like your start date, so that way you know your rate of pay, so you know what to expect for the summer. Your work location, as Allie mentioned, we're really optimistic. We're cautiously optimistic about planning for in-person, so the work location is where you're expected to be for the summer, as well as all the onboarding requirements that you're going to have to follow. So definitely really important. We'll be sending that out, so that's something that you'll have everything in writing in front of you. And then Allie, if you could go to the next one for me, please. So kind of what to expect for next steps. So regardless if you're selected for a summer position with us or not, everyone's actually going to receive an update by the end of January. So that's our commitment to you to ensure that we're providing you an update, once again, by the end of January. If an offer was made to you and you decide to move forward with us for the summer, congratulations. We're really looking forward to kind of continue our program and offer different opportunities. If you decide to move forward, communication is going to be going out over the next few months via email about everything that we have planned, as well as help you better prepare about the upcoming action item steps. And for those of you that have accepted, your start date is going to be provided to you at the time of your offer. If everyone remembers when you had applied to any of the opportunities, it did ask for your preference for you to list it on your profile. So we're definitely going to try to meet your preference in terms of when you're looking to start, as we are offering 2 different start dates, so that way you can come in with other members of the cohort. All offers are contingent on you completing a successful background check. So what we check in that background check is anything from previous work experience to criminal history to your education enrollment. So everything is verified at that time, as well as the successful completion of a medical screening. These processes are actually going to begin about 30 days prior to your start date. And then all offers are contingent on you continuing to meet program requirements. So as I mentioned, it's going to list it on the offer letter. We'll remind you of that. Offer is always contingent on you continuing to meet the requirements of our program. And then failure just to meet these minimum requirements is going to result in a rescinded offer. We just want to be, once again, transparent with you so that you understand that there are expectations surrounding this program and to make sure it's a smooth process for all. So now hopefully you're ready for the summer with us. Hopefully this information kind of clarified some of your questions. You're ready to go. For those of you that didn't express interest yet, hopefully, afterwards you're going to go right in and express interest. But at this time, I'm actually going to go ahead and turn it over to Allie, who's going to be moderating today's session. And we wanted to leave a lot of time for Q&A for you. So Allie, I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to you.
Thanks, Rachel. Rachel always gives the best overview of what our process really looks like. So always really a pleasure to hear from her the overview. So kind of looking at this, we wanted to put it in a visual for you of the kind of grid turn selection timeline. So you have until this Thursday to confirm interest in the specific roles that you've been linked to. And then again, interviews with managers will be happening November 17th through December 11th. And then offers are being extended November through January. Again, it's really dependent on how quick the manager gets back to us on who they would like to make an offer to. And then the summer start dates for 2021 are going to be May 24th and June 7th of next year. I know that seems really far away, but believe me, it's going to fly by in terms of this recruiting process and really where we're at in the COVID world. But hopefully, again, as Rachel shared, this session was beneficial to you. And kind of with those sentiments, leading into the Q&A portion now. So I will actually be moderating our Q&A session between Rachel and myself. So again, if you missed it at the end, the question slide is www.menti.com and the code is 3970388. And I believe it should be active now. Also on the screen before we jump into any questions is Rachel and I's contact information. So if you have any direct questions or your question doesn't get answered after the session, you can feel free to reach back out to us at the email address you see on the screen here. So Rachel, I'm just going to take a second to look for a really good question to start out with.
Is that a good question or a hard question?
Ooh, should I start with a hard question?
No, I'm just kidding. Don't do it. Don't start with one. We'll get to there, but
I think this is a good one to start with. With the anticipation of COVID during our internship, is there something a prospective gridturn could really do currently to better prepare themselves?
Oh yeah, so definitely good question. Really nothing else besides what you've been doing. So as we kind of prepare for COVID to see how we're going to, once again, we're planning in person, but how if we might shift. I can share with you our process from last year. It was pretty smooth. Hopefully our former gridturns, I'm pretty sure will agree with that, that no additional steps were actually needed from you. It was just a lot more additional communication of us reaching out, connecting with you one-on-one. Which we really enjoyed, that way kind of getting to know everyone, but nothing really additional from our gridturns or our gridturn candidates that you need to do in preparation. Just make sure, essentially, really the biggest thing is looking at your email and just making sure that you're reading all communication that's sending to us. I swear it might sound like a lot, but we really take the time to make sure that it's clear and concise and we're getting our point across. And then as always, reaching out to us should you have any questions.
Great, awesome. Thank you, Rachel. And then I will kind of take these next two questions. So I see a lot of people asking, can I apply for more than one role? So if you received more than one email from either Rachel or myself, you can definitely apply to the positions that you think you'd be a good fit for. So again, if you've received multiple emails, feel free to apply to all of them. If you wish to be considered for all of them, again, you do have to reconfirm your interest should you want to be considered for those roles. So then, Rachel, another question that came in is, oh, sorry, I just lost it. Rachel, can you give your feedback, I guess? And again, I know we are the ones that coordinated the intern program, but was there really a big difference in the program components from hosting an in-person internship to a virtual one?
Oh, so that's a good question, because I know Allie and I have actually talked about this numerous times of what really was the difference. So not only did we still offer the same amount of opportunities, but even more in a virtual setting, the one thing that we can share was the fact that everyone was open to all opportunities. So how it works in person is depending on kind of more of a location base. So what's going around your area. Some work locations might have a little bit more. Some might have a different department, so that way we kind of gauge experience like that way and everything like that. But how it works, though, for the virtual is that everyone was able to participate in all the events. And we offer that throughout the year in person as well. But I would say that's probably the biggest thing is that everyone was involved in all events. So we had 200 participants at every single event rather than location specific, say 50 for our Massachusetts location and 50 for our Syracuse Albany location. So I would say that's the biggest difference. But in terms of content and what's going on, nothing really. We still offered a well-rounded experience, as Allie had mentioned, in terms of different volunteer opportunities, networking, end of summer events. We're actually taking the feedback that we received last summer, making sure that we're even offering even more virtual events as well, even though we're planning on in-person. So that way we can kind of get all of our gridturns back together because they absolutely loved it. So I would say really not a big difference, and whatever was a difference between the two, we're going to kind of incorporate it moving forward. So we're going to do a little bit of both. Once again, mainly in person at this time.
Perfect. Thanks, Rachel. And to kind of give you a break, I'll take these next two questions. So I saw one asking about the notice period on the application itself. So the notice period is kind of asking if you were employed elsewhere, how long would you need to kind of get notice to come work for National Grid. So I know this is a little bit different for the intern experiences. So if you're really not sure what to put, you can also just put NA because you are college students. So, you know, you're ready to accept an offer when it comes to you, hopefully. So keep that in mind. And then kind of looking at, does National Grid accept international students into the summer intern program? So we do, you know, your college does sponsor your kind of, I think it's CPT, don't quote me on that one, but you are authorized to work from your school. You do have to get the necessary paperwork. We are very strict on that. So as long as you get the proper work documentation to come be an intern at National Grid, we do hire international students. So Rachel, these are really good questions that I'm seeing come in. Can you tell us a little bit more about what your favorite thing about the organization is and maybe what your favorite part of your team is here at National Grid?
Oh, that's a good one. So I would say even, especially with COVID and everything that's going on recently, the focus that National Grid puts on its employees, I can't say enough great things. So not only is this a big enough company where you can continue to grow and develop within the company without leaving it, but maybe try different roles, but through COVID, the focus that they put on their employees to ensure that we're safe, how many people that they were able to move to working from home capacity. As Ali had mentioned, we've been here since March. I've kind of lost track of the days at this point, but just the ability to know that there's that job security and that I can work from the comfort and safety of my home was amazing to hear. And kind of going along with our team, I know a lot of teams experience this, but we are so close. Allie's not kidding when we say the dynamic duo. We work so well together, and it's definitely great to see that you have that connection with the whole team actually that we have, and I know Allie has it as well. But the connection that we have with all of our team members and just the ability to connect with one another, bounce ideas off of each other. It's a really inclusive environment, which I would say is amazing. And I know that National Grid is promoting that within all of its departments as well. So I would say those are probably like my couple favorite things. I like listed more than just like one, but I'm just really excited that I found myself at National Grid. Honestly, not on purpose, to be completely transparent, but I don't plan on leaving anytime soon. So that's probably what my favorite things are.
You know, Rachel, that's really good news for me too, that you're not looking to go elsewhere at this time, because I don't know what I would do without you. So I do see some other questions coming in asking about work location and housing stipends. So if you did not catch it on the slide, right now, National Grid does not provide housing stipends for relocation. However, we do provide you a guide with resources if you are relocating areas on how to find, you know, places to live, places of success that past interns have had when relocating to the area. And then somebody asking, can you show a email of what the reconfirm interest really looks like? So I can't pull it up on the screen right now, unfortunately, but it should came from our MyHub system, and the subject line of the email says action required. I think it says next steps to National Grid's internship. So feel free to search that subject line, and it will give you more detailed information on what the link. Really, I think you found the information session from that email, so I think you should know what the email looks like, because that's how you got the information for today's information session. And then, Rachel, I actually don't think I covered how many interns we hire every year. So can you give us kind of a general overview of how many interns we hire every year, maybe where we hire interns, and usually what majors we hire for?
Yeah, so we typically look to recruit for 200 intern positions across our different jurisdictional areas. So we are a Northeast-based company, so we are in Massachusetts, upstate and downstate New York, as well as Rhode Island. I'm happy to share we have about over 200 this year, which just means that the program, our managers are seeing the benefit of the program and are really excited to kind of bring in interns and gridturns. So we're excited that the program continues to grow. I would say that across the different jurisdictional areas, Massachusetts is our U.S. headquarters, so in Waltham. So definitely a lot of the opportunities are there. And then once again, in Syracuse, Albany, Buffalo, you name it, we have interns across our different locations. And then once again, the good thing about it is that we bring you together for other opportunities as well, so that you can meet each other in person or virtually. So yep, so right now the goal is about 200 and 15 grid turns for this upcoming summer. So we're excited, ready to get started, and kind of welcome everyone.
Thank you, Rachel. Sorry, I was taking a pause because I think of right now of all the questions that we have in the queue, I think we've covered most of all of them. But if you feel we have not or did not get a chance to ask your question, feel free to submit it and I'll leave it up for a couple more minutes. Okay, Rachel, I got a good one for you. Maybe it's a hard one. But for somebody who is looking to prepare for their interview, can you talk a little bit more about where they could find information on National Grid and the job description that they're being interviewed for? You know, where can they find that information?
So good question. On the careers website, so where you applied originally for any of your opportunities, you can actually sign in and go through all of the positions that you applied for. So that means you can also review the job description. So in that job description, it's going to be more detailed about the specific department, which is a great starting point. It's going to share a little bit more about the skills that they're looking for. So that way, that's something that you can elaborate on come the interview process. So really good starting point there for a job description. In terms of National Grid, honestly, if you just Google National Grid, you go to the National Grid US homepage, you'll see a lot of good information about what our company is currently doing. So where our focus is right now, how we work with our customers, our focus of our communities. So that's also a really good starting point to make sure that you're doing the necessary research. And our managers love to hear that. They want to hear that you're interested in National Grid. A lot of times what sells them is just kind of your passion for either the industry or the company or why. We find out a little bit more about why you chose to work for us. So I would say those are probably the best starting points for you, is either the careers website for a specific job description and then the National Grid US website for more about the company in general.
Perfect. Thank you, Rachel. So I think that is all the questions that we received in our mentee poll. So we will give you about 22 minutes back of your time on this Monday night. So thank you all for joining us in today's session. Again, feel free to jot down Rachel and I's email address so you can reach out to us after today's session. But hopefully we see your confirmed interest application come through in our specific positions. And again, have a safe night.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Thank
you.
you.
Thank you.
Thank you so
Thank
much.
you.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Have a great night.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.